Hello and good morning, business owners, coaches, experts, and consultants. It's Leon Street back in the house. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to overcome hidden fears that hold your business back. And if you're in a position where you want to go for something new, a new goal, attain something that you haven't achieved before in your business, and for some reason it's not quite working out, in this video, we're going to explore potentially the reason for that, which could be around hidden fears that you're not even aware of. And so we're going to dive into hidden fears. And as always, guys, if this is the first time watching me and watching these videos and you're watching me on YouTube, please do remember to subscribe to the channel. And if you're not subscribed already, and you're watching on Facebook, you can visit www.leonstreet.com/YouTube, and it will simply redirect you to the YouTube channel, which I would 100% recommend you do right now, because there's over 150 videos on the channel, lots of great content around sales, marketing, and of course, mindset and what it takes to take your business to the next level if you're a coach or consultant looking to do 6 and 7 figures. So let's get into this. We're talking about fears, and I'm going to kick off, as always, with a quote by somebody who I've looked into and appreciate and love what they achieved in their life, Mr. Nelson Mandela. And here's one of his quotes on fear. "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." And I think in terms of business success and you attaining, success in your business, you do have to conquer fear, and you have to acknowledge it, because you can't conquer something that you don't acknowledge. And if I take you back into my career early, I wouldn't admit to fears. I would kind of skip past fears. I would move on. I would think about, well, what else can I focus on, rather than, thinking of something that I'm afraid of or fearful of. And one particular incident was when I got myself in debt in my first business. And the fear was that I wouldn't be able to take the business to the next level and keep paying for my 3 employees. And so instead of tackling the fear and really looking at what was going on and just kind of stopping for a moment to giving myself a chance to breathe and think more logically rather than get caught up in the fear, I decided to take out credit cards and use overdrafts and different things. And in the end, my business failed. There was too big of a cash gap when we got to the point where clients were due to pay invoices and they weren't paying on time, and I just couldn't handle the cash gap. And in the end, the business folded. And so it was a big lesson, £50,000 worth of a lesson. And, I'm grateful for that lesson. But what came out of it was, at that point, I'd hit failure in the sense of the business failed and that business had to close. But I hadn't acknowledged my fears, and the fears were all to do with different aspects of what was going on in my mind. And it was fears around marketing strategy and whether or not I wanted to hold my hands up and ask for help. There were fears around how to generate more leads and actually admit that I needed to learn new things. And then if I was going to generate more leads and get myself out there, it was being okay with putting myself out there, right? And then the final part, sales, was, fears around getting people to buy from me and, getting people to commit to what it is that I could do for them. And so before you know it, you start creating fears around different aspects of your psyche that affect your business. And they're both, interwoven, because after all, you're the common denominator to the success or the failure of your business. And so what I want to do is go in and dig deeper into fears so that you know how to overcome them, and you can use these actions of what I'm going to share with you to go to the next level. So can you really have hidden fears? Does that exist? And I guess that's the first thing in terms of acknowledgement. And, just like Nelson Mandela shared, it's not the absence of fear, it's the courage to conquer them. Yeah. And if you have the courage to at least acknowledge there are fears, then you can conquer that, because it's a known thing then, rather than being hidden or in the unknown. And so, for a lot of us, we do have hidden fears because they're all related to, our psychology. They're related to our unconscious and subconscious and what goes on there. They're related to different things that have happened to us in the past and what our ego, our mind, thinks to protect us from going forward. And so if they're in the unconscious, a lot of the times it's a bit difficult for you to even, see them happening. It's almost like they're happening in your blind spots. I don't know if any of you right now have ever driven. And when you look over to your right and you look through your wing mirror on the side of your car door, if you're turning right, you're meant to, or pulling out, you're meant to look over your shoulder so you can see a blind spot that you can't usually see in your wing mirror, as you're driving. So if you drive on the left or the right, doesn't matter which side. But the point is, you can have this hidden potential accident that could happen if you're not looking out for other, motor vehicles, motorbikes, or people passing by bikes, that kind of thing. So yes, you can have hidden fears. Is anyone truly free of fear? It's I guess it's an interesting question, because you could argue that some of the most successful people that we look up to, as entrepreneurs, as coaches, as consultants, we look at their businesses and think, wow, the likes of your Bill Gates, your Elon Musk, your Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, all of those types of successful people, you can look up to and think, wow, could they be scared of anything? And the reality is that if you look into their lifestyle, if you look into their life story and their biography, you find that they actually faced a lot of challenges, and therefore they actually had to face a lot of fears. And it wasn't the absence of fears, it was the acknowledgement that those fears existed, but they were able to conquer them nonetheless. And I guess for me, nobody's ever truly free of fear. And the most important thing that you can do is acknowledge the fear, but then act on and conquer that fear rather than let it hold you back any longer. And, I'm yet to come across anybody who is fully, completely removed of fear. Perhaps you could say like a Buddhist monk or a priest or something like that, perhaps. But in business, I think there's a lot going on, many moving parts. You've got employees, you've got customers, you've got suppliers, you've got so many different aspects of your business. You've got you taking care of your family, what you do in your business. And therefore, I don't believe anybody is truly free of fear. But the most important thing is not to feel like you need to be free of it. You just need to acknowledge it, but take the necessary actions to overcome it, which I'm going to go into in a moment. So at this point, I guess the question is, how does this fear affect you growing in your business? Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you're fearful of whether or not your strategy is working right now, you may never take action because you may be stuck in procrastination as to, should I act or shouldn't I act, or should I change or not change, right? If you're trying to get yourself more out there and generate more leads and connect to more people, maybe you have a fear of putting yourself out there. I've got one very successful client. Haven't just got one client, but one in particular that I want to speak about, where his business is doing tremendously well, multiple six figures, way beyond where he wanted to be. He's now a property developer and investor. And before he got to this level, he never dreamt of putting himself out there for fear of exposure, fear of being judged, fear of being criticized. And over time, he was able to conquer that fear because he acknowledged it. He acknowledged that he was fearful, but he was so committed to his vision that he was still taking actions to go beyond that. And bit by bit, year by year, 6 years in the making, 6 or 7 years in the making, and he took his business from being a solopreneur to 34 people working for him, multiple six-figure business, where he's now able to create, the last time I checked in with him, it was about £20,000 worth of semi-passive revenue in addition to what his businesses are doing. And so the point that I want to get to, guys, is fear will affect you, and it does affect your business growing, and not everybody gets past it. And so I'm going to share a couple of things with you in terms of what you can do. So let's explore. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to stop sharing that screen and see if I can get my iPad on screen and we can do a live demonstration. So just give me a second, guys, and let's see if this works. So let's just switch on some screen sharing. Let's see if that works. Okay, there we are. So that's working. So hopefully, let me just stop that sharing and then add a different screen. Right, here we are. So this exercise, I call it the target exercise, and it should be on screen right now. So I'm just going to make that bigger and just make sure we've got that. So I use this exercise with my clients actually when I'm helping them to create their signature programs, but it's a very useful exercise because it allows you to demonstrate actually many different things, basically how you solve problems. And it's a very simple approach to how we can look at fears right now. And I believe this will be something that you guys can take. So what I want to do is I'm going to explore fears from a business growth point of view, because that's what this video is all about, you know, how hidden fears are holding you back from growing your business. So if we think about the fear, so let's just put it right here. So on the top, we've got fear, and it's business growth, right? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up some of the, I guess, the key areas that a lot of people, I guess, go through in terms of growing their business. So one of the fears is, you know, am I using the right strategy to realize my goals, to realize the vision that I have? And so one fear could be wrong strategy. So wrong strategy. And one of the, I guess one of the aspects of having the wrong strategy is you start to put yourself into this place of procrastination. And the procrastination is whether or not this is going to work. And a lot of the times when you're thinking about fears, and you probably heard this acronym many times, it used to come up for me a lot when I was in my early days of being coached, was false evidence appearing real. And it's a great way to kind of acknowledge what fears are, because usually fears is something you're thinking about that is yet to pass, that is yet to happen. It's going to come in the future. And quite often, a lot of these things don't happen that way. It's almost like a horror movie. You're in fear of what's going to happen next because you're expecting it's a horror movie, right? And so as human beings, because we're wired negatively, and if you look into psychology and how things work, you start to understand, a lot of the aspects of human beings are from a negative place. So fears are kind of wired into us. And it's not to say that people can, go around their lives and never, get rid of fear. The key is to acknowledge it and overcome them. And the faster and the more capable you are at doing that, the better experience you are, the more successful your business will become, because you'll start to acknowledge them faster. And therefore, you'll understand, right, what actions do I need to take, and take the actions, rather than I know what I need to do, but I'm frozen in fear, because that can be a reality as well, right? I've been there. I've been frozen in depression. First business failed, wanted to go to the next level, but I never went past my own glass ceiling that I'd set myself because of fear of the first business failure happening again, right? So we all have different fears, but the key is, wrong strategy. That might be one fear in growing your business. Another one might be, so this one's putting yourself out. So when I say out, I mean putting yourself out there. So more people seeing you, more people knowing what you're up to do. You might be criticized, you might be judged. You're fearful of what's the conclusion of that. How would that affect you? How would that affect your brand? How would that affect your reputation, right? And then another fear of growing your business is not wanting to be pushy when people are buying from you. So not pushy. Yeah. And so that fear could be realized because when it comes to sales, often people think about the pushy salesperson, double glazing, car salesman, that kind of stuff. And nobody wants to be that sleazy, pushy kind of salesperson. And again, that could be another fear. And it's fear of asking for the sale. And these fears, again, as I said to you, they all come from our psyche. It could be things to do with what happened when you were younger, whether or not, you were asking for things when you were younger and you were denied them, you weren't given them. And therefore you've kind of created this reality that whenever I ask for stuff, I never get it. And therefore what's the point in asking? Or I can only ask up to a certain level because I don't want to be disappointed so much when I do ask for the very thing that I want and I can't get it, or, so on and so forth. And the more you get into this, you're probably starting to see a picture and you're thinking, well, what's the answer, Leon? Like, How do you go from having all these fears to breaking through them? Well, as I said to you, the first step is you acknowledge them. So if you think about growing your business, we're looking at wrong strategy, yeah, which can lead to procrastination, which can lead to, anxiety, depression, and different things. Putting yourself out there to not being pushy. We acknowledge them first. That's what we've just done. We've acknowledged potential fears that could be in your business. So what do we do to overcome them? Well, what we do is we look at what's the outcome that we are looking for that would lead us to something good, that would lead us to something great. So if you're fearful of the wrong strategy, what happens if you understand the right strategy, and actually you can turn your marketing strategy from being something complicated that has got you frozen and stuck in procrastination to just something as easy as marketing made easy. So you'd say, right, what if my marketing was easy? Yeah. Marketing made easy. Yeah. So we start to look at the opposites of what the fears are. And so instead of having a fear of putting yourself out there, what if actually you could just generate people who really wanted to work with you and they were looking for you? So at this point, you'd be saying the opposite of that would be something like hot qualified leads. Yeah. So people who genuinely just wanted to work with you. Yeah. So now what I'm doing is showing you the action that we need to take, or the result, the outcome that we're looking for to overcome that fear. And what if you don't want to become or come across as a pushy salesperson? Well, the opposite to that would be selling confidently, right? Selling authentically. So we can put here selling confidently. All right, so we just fit that on there. So now here's the cool thing. We've acknowledged our fears, which are in the red. Yeah. So wrong strategy, putting yourself out there, being judged, being criticized, and the third one, being pushy and not wanting to be pushy, which is a fear, right? And if you end up being pushy, that means, well, people aren't going to like you, might ruin your reputation, yada, yada, yada. And so we've got those in red. Now we've got the opposites to those, the results and the outcomes that we do want to achieve, which is marketing made easy, hot qualified leads, and selling confidently. So if you take your fears around growing your business and you start to identify what your fears are, you acknowledge them, and then you identify what's the outcome or the result that you want to achieve. Now you're starting to see the opposite to that fear. And here's another cool thing that you can do. So what you can say is, with regards to you achieving those outcomes, what we've written, or what I've written in the green, what can we do now in order to take actions, take steps to get to that end result and overcome the fear? Because we've acknowledged the fear, but we've got to overcome it through action. Where it's very simple. What you start to do is, on this target exercise, which I'm just sharing with you right now, you start to look at on the outside, the outer ring. I'm just going to circle there, just mark there, 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So hopefully you can see what I've just outlined, and I've put the numbers on the outer circle. So what you can start to do is map out what are the actions that you need to take, what are the key actions. And so it can either be 3, 2, or just 1 complete action for each one of those areas. So in growing your business, here's a way to look at where you are right now and what you can do in order to overcome your fears around growing your business. And this is something that I have for my clients, that I coach my clients on. And so an example of this would be, if you're looking at your marketing made easy, well, to have your marketing made easy, you need to have a market that you can go after. So meaning you need to identify the people who do truly want to work with you. And I use the term hell yeah types of clients, people you love to work with, people you can help, and people who can pay you. So first, you need to have a market, a niche, right? The next thing is you need to have something that I call a magnetic message. So magnetic message. And the whole point of this is you're able to create a message that speaks to that specific market, the audience that you've identified, so that they understand you because you understand them, and your message is magnetizing, it pulls people in. And then the third step is to have marketing made easy. Once you've identified your market and you understand the message that needs to be put in front of them, you need to have something called your MVPO. And you may have heard of MVP, so your minimum viable product. So what I have is a minimum viable product and offer, because it's cool having your minimum viable product, but you've got to have an offer that helps to sell. And this is how you overcome having the wrong strategy, because everything starts by having your market, having the action to create a magnetic message, and from there a minimum viable product. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. If you got any questions as I'm taking through this, remember guys, just drop them below this video as you're watching. The next one that we're going to overcome is obviously putting yourself out there, and the end result, what we want is hot qualified leads. So when we put ourselves out there, we're attracting the people who truly want to speak to us and want to work with us. And so in order to take the necessary actions for that, what we need to do is look at, well, how can we create a consistent lead flow? Yeah. So we need a way to create lead flow. Yeah. And so those could be different channels like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google. Yeah. It could be networking. I know there's a lot more online networking now because of the pandemic, but I'm guessing offline networking as well. So you can explore different things like that. For me, I'm a big advocate for online marketing. Used to do a lot of offline networking, but what I've found is that you can really target in on the people that you do want to work with when it comes to online, and you don't waste as much time, turning up for networking meetings, driving there, traveling there, and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, the second action that you can take around generating hot qualified leads is having a pipeline. And this is what a lot of people don't have. So a pipeline is basically people who are waiting to speak to you, where you've got people booked into your calendar and you're creating a pipeline of people who are yet to be potential customers of yours. And the final thing is, when people do start to, I guess, kind of book in or want to book in to speak with you, at this point, you're at a place where you're generating a lot more conversations. Yeah. And so conversations, just squeeze that in there, are what are going to help you to generate hot qualified leads. And I guess when it comes to marketing, it's pretty straightforward in the sense of, growing your business. But it's another thing when you start to map out, is this a reality of, what's there for you? And if you're in this place of fear, you might be thinking, well, will these actions work out for me? Now, this is an important thing. The thing is, once you identify what actions you've got to take, you've got to do the action. You just have to take the action, because you'll forever hold yourself back with these hidden fears, because they'll keep playing around in your mind. And so to overcome them is, we've just identified at least 6 actions right here that you can use to overcome fears around growing your coaching or expert business. But the important step is, once you've identified, it's to take action on those. So let's get into the final end result that you could create in order to grow your coaching or expert business, which is selling confidently. So another action that you could take to help you with selling confidently is to have a way to get people to confirm ahead of time. So when you have conversations, so I'm just going to put confirm, you get people who say, I'm in. So they're in because they've seen your offer, your minimum viable product and offer. They have got to the point where they're qualified because you've got lead flow coming in, you've got a pipeline, and you've got conversations going. So you've got nice rapport, so know, like, and trust building. And what you need to do is, when it comes to selling, you need to have a structure, a script that helps people to confirm ahead of time. This is before they paid you or they're fully, into your program. But you need people to give you these micro commitments. This is what stops you being pushy, and it allows people to give you buying signals. So they're the ones saying, yeah, I'm in, or I really would love to find out more, or I like what you're saying, now I'm curious, those types of responses. The next thing you want is to have a phone call. But in order to have a successful phone call or a successful selling experience as a coach or expert, you need a phone call that qualifies people. Yeah. So qualifies. So in order to qualify, that simply means that when people come through to you, then they're not only giving you these micro commitments ahead of time, but now you're going to double check whether or not this person is a good fit for you and whether you're a good fit for them. And this is how you stop being pushy, because now you're looking at this from both angles. Is this person good for me? And you're checking in with that person to know that the responses and the way you're asking questions and the way they're responding back to you, are you a good fit for them? Yeah. And this is important. And the final part is, how do you move people over the line once they say, yep, I'm in because they're a good fit for you? Well, it's very simple. At that point, you close the sale. Yeah, and this is a term that comes from Zig Ziglar, old sales trainer from back in the day. And you know, some people don't like the term closing the sale. It could just be opening the relationship, however you want to label it. But this is how I know it. I'm a bit old school. And the key thing is that when you look at these actions, now I'm going to come back to the point of obviously today's video. We've now identified how people can overcome obviously fears around growing their business. The key is what you have to do is put you in the middle and your product. Yeah, we've now taken you through, or I've taken you through the key actions that you can use in order to go to the next level with your business and grow your business by acknowledging the fears. And those initial fears were business growth, right? And what we understood them to be was wrong strategy, putting yourself out there, not being pushy. So when you start to look at things from this perspective, you've now got a clear action plan. And that's why I love this exercise. It sets up the specific structure of what you can do to go to the next level. So if you're in this place of fear and you're not quite sure why, and you're not quite sure what to do to move to that next level, now you've got an action plan. Now you can start to look at how you grow your coaching or expert consulting business. So hopefully that was of help to you guys watching this today. And I wanted to touch on that. I'm just going to go back to screen sharing with my PowerPoint, because quite often we're looking for, I guess, the easy way out. And the thing is, the easy way out is usually through action. So at this point, if you have any questions, please drop them in a comment below this video on YouTube or on Facebook, and I will come back to your questions individually and answer them. And I want to leave you with this before we wrap up. And this is from Rosa Parks. I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. And I love this because look, we just went through that target exercise and now you know what must be done. I'm just giving you the complete actions of what you can do to grow your business. And if for any reason you're at the point where you're like, okay, I get it, but I need some help, Leon. If you want to grow your business, your coaching and expert business to over £10,000 a month in 60 days in 2021, it's very simple, guys. Comment no fear below this video and I'll reach out to you personally and I'll send you more details about how I help coaches, consultants and experts to take their business to 10,000 plus per month in 60 days guaranteed. So on that note, guys, I just want to say if this content has resonated with you, you enjoyed what I've shared today, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to leonstreet.com/YouTube and hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell. And on that note, guys, I just want to say thank you very much for watching and I'll be back next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. UK time. Take care. Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.